Next up is Joe Loya. Joe's an essayist, playwright, and the author of the critically acclaimed memoir, The Man Who Outgrew His Prison Cell, Confessions of a Bank Robber, which I'm reading now and is fantastic. He is also the founder of Own Your Story, which promotes the transformational power of writing a personal narrative. A couple things not in his bio. Joe's not feeling very well tonight, and I appreciate his coming out anyway. And I also just learned Joe's the subject of a documentary on the Discovery Channel, if you get a chance to see it, about almost getting away with it. I stress the almost part. Please welcome Joe Loya.
Thank you. Well, you're tall.
That's cute.
There we go. So the year was 1988. I concluded after my third bank robbery that I needed a getaway song. I reviewed the canon of great music, from Beethoven's Eroica to Echo and the Bunnymen's The Killing Moon. And for some ridiculous reason, I landed on Smooth Criminal by Michael Jackson. There I was, driving on Highway 5 from San Diego to Los Angeles, a minute from the bank, a clean getaway, thousands of dollars in my fanny pack in the back seat, and I was feeling ferocious. So I pulled out the bad CD case and I slid the CD into the player. Then the song began. Quick violent horns and a loud drum startle you, followed by the sound of a heartbeat picking up speed. Then a strong bass track kicks in. Good, just like I felt in that driver's seat, sturdy and vital. The song was working. Then Michael opened his mouth. As he came into the window, it was the sound of a crescendo. He came into her apartment. He left the bloodstains on the carpet. She ran underneath the table. He could see she was unable. So she ran to the bedroom. She was struck down. It was her doom. Annie, are you okay? Annie, are you okay? What the fuck? This song is about a rape or a murder? I quickly ejected the CD. Listen, I'm no stranger to terror and violence, and I once made her tell her piss herself as she faced the wall in the bank vault. I mean, I had just robbed the bank, for God's sake, so it wasn't that I was in a position to pass moral judgment on other types of criminals. Believe me, I get that. But I wasn't about to listen to the ballad of Annie's rapist during my pristine getaway. So I drove the rest of the way home annoyed, feeling cheated for not being able to celebrate my triumphant achievement with a song that made me feel mighty, indomitable, heroic, and historic. Once home, I started plucking the CDs that showed promise off the shelf. Southern Rock made an initial strong showing, probably because I dug the hint of violence in the band's names, like Molly Hatchet, 38 Special, The Outlaws, or because some of their songs were great rock anthems, Free Bird by Leonard Skinner being the best example, but also Slow Ride by Foghat. Next was Canadian rock. I picked Neil Young's Live Rush CD because I love the grinding electric guitar sounding like a hurricane. The deep dissonant chords toward the end of the song charge me. They really make sense on some elemental level. Bachman Turner Overdrive also got the nod. Let It Ride, one of my all-time favorites, is a hard-charged, drum-driven song, a real shit-kicker, with tight harmonies and a clean acoustic guitar sound throughout. Early on, I quietly favored Don't Fear the Reaper by Blue Oyster Cult. Mostly because I love the line, Caesars don't fear the Reaper, stay with me. I used to tell people that I was Nietzsche's Ubermensch, the Superman, alive to stomp all over normal categories of proper behavior. I existed to prove that timid moralities were a thing that were meant to be surpassed. So I had a kinship with every manner of authoritarian, czars, Führers, pharaohs, popes, and kings, who believed themselves supreme. So the notion that Caesar, like me, did not fear the Reaper appealed to my gargantuan vanity. The problem was that when I listened carefully to the song, I discovered it was Seasons, not Caesar. And on top of that, the song is actually a love song with way too many Baby Take My Hand verses to qualify as dangerous or darkly textured getaway music. So I let it go. Then Led Zeppelin got me excited. I was doing the thing I did when I made the mistake of choosing Smooth Criminal. I was being too literal as I thought of getaway songs. So Communication Breakdown felt like a great fit, since metaphorically, my bank robberies were ad hoc evidence that sometime earlier in my life, my ability to communicate normally had broken down. Slowly it occurred to me that I was picking Pump You Up for a Good Day of Bank Robbery music, not enjoy your comfortable ride home and bask in your glory after a heist music. What I really needed was to match music to my post-robbery mood. So I went to the refrigerator, pulled out a Corona, popped in Pink Floyd's The Wall Disc 2, sat down in my big comfy leather chair, closed my eyes, and told myself to think about the way I felt on the drive home from the bank robbery, which inevitably led me to begin to take stock of the mood I was in as I reclined in that chair. One thing was clear. I felt positively post-coital, like I just shot my wad. I felt mellow, otherworldly, slightly buzzed, like I had a minor concussion. Not like the drive to a bank robbery, where my body always fought off an anxiety attack. My hands would get sweaty, my stomach would cramp, intense fatigue would sweep over me, so that if I pulled over to the side of the road, I know I could have slept for 3 hours. My body would be panicked, and it would do everything it could to try and shut down before I got to my dangerous destination. In order to combat my body's mutiny, I would summon memories of boyhood humiliations, like the time 3 boys beat me and broke my glasses in 8th grade. My preacher father's response had been to drive me around our East Los Angeles neighborhood looking for them so that he could have me fight them one-on-one, threatening to beat me if I didn't win each fight. My reverie would soon lead me to the time when I was 16, when I stabbed him in the neck with a steak knife after he'd given me a vicious beating. Then in that car, under tremendous physical duress, an incredible rage would jolt me and instantly subdue my body, as if I just shot 20 grams of endorphins. I would be overwhelmed by an amazing sense of mission. Outwardly, I was stoic, no more jitters, but my brain would be throbbing with mad purpose. That's what it felt like driving to a bank robbery, like getting ready to stab my dad. But returning home felt more like the sensation I had 2 hours after I stabbed my dad. My brother and I ran out of the apartment to my aunt's house, where we raced through the door and told her that I had killed my dad. He survived, but I didn't know it at the time. My aunt drove us to the police station. After a few hours, I complained to a female cop that my arm was in major pain and it hurt to breathe. She drove me to the local hospital, where the doctors determined that I had a fractured rib and elbow and had sustained a major concussion. We were taken to a facility named McLaren Hall, where kids wait to be placed in foster care. At McLaren Hall, even though I was beat up and bandaged, I lay on that county cot, and I wore my wounds as a badge of honor, as a "you should see the other guy" kind of cockiness. In prison, I reread the Red Badge of Courage, and I remember that there's this part in there where Henry has suffered head trauma in battle, and he talks about how he conceived his torn body to be peculiarly happy. That's how I felt in my concussive state after bloody combat with my father. Peculiarly happy. The violence of my childhood was like one fuzzy dream state. I can now say that my entire crime spree can be understood as my replicating the mood of the home I was raised in, full of terror, episodic violence, and extreme disassociation from the normal frequencies of human emotion. In fact, the dominant motif of Comfortably Numb, the song I was listening to in that leather chair, resonated with my life's motif of hazard and contingency. It was as if the baroque confusion of my childhood's concussions had been given voice in David Gilmour's plaintive guitar licks, in the moody blues-like orchestral strings, and finally in the brooding, anguished, psychedelic lyrics. When I was a child, I had a fever. My hands felt just like 2 balloons. Now I've got that feeling once again. I can't explain. You would not understand. When I was a child, I caught a fleeting glimpse out of the corner of my eye. I turned to look, but it was gone. I cannot put my finger on it now. The child is grown. The dream is gone. I have become comfortably numb. The song ended, and I opened my eyes, and I knew what song I would be hearing after every future bank robbery, which ended up being approximately 25 more for the next 12 months. Thank you.